Welcome to training for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, also known as VITA. Session 2, the scope of VITA and the intake interview and quality review sheet. This training is presented by the Franchise Tax Board's VITA trainers. Hi, I'm Kat.
And I'm Thalia.
The Franchise Tax Board is proud to offer this training series for the upcoming filing season. We have created these training videos with California VITA volunteers in mind. This is the second of 13 sessions, and we hope you find them helpful as you work on your VITA certification. If you have any questions, please contact your local VITA coordinator. You may also reach out to FTB's VITA team at 800-522-5665 or by email at volunteercoordinator@ftb.ca.gov.
In this session, we will cover the scope of the VITA program and how to complete the intake, interview, and quality review sheet, Form 1364-C. Volunteers for VITA and Tax Counseling for the Elderly, also known as TCE, are trained to assist taxpayers with preparing and filing Form 1040 and certain schedules and forms. To be covered under the Volunteer Protection Act, volunteers must stay within the scope of the VITA TCE programs and prepare returns which they have achieved certification. Now let's go over the scope of the VITA program. Volunteers provide assistance to individuals and families with low to moderate income levels, self-employment and business income, all filing statuses except filing separate, current year filing and the prior 3 years, various federal schedules, California schedules, and free e-filing services and direct deposit.
VITA TCE Quality Site Requirements. The purpose of the 10 Quality Site Requirements, or QSRs, is to ensure quality and accurate tax return preparation and quality service. The QSRs are required to be communicated to all volunteers and partners to ensure IRS and partner mutual objectives are met. The 10 requirements are certification, intake, interview, and quality review process, photo ID and taxpayer ID numbers such as SSN or ITIN, reference materials, volunteer agreements, timely filing of tax returns, civil rights posters displayed at all times, site identification number, electronic filing identification number, which must be obtained through the IRS, and all security, privacy, and confidentiality guidelines outlined in Publication 4299 must be followed.
Publication 4961, VITA TCE Volunteer Standard of Conduct Ethics Training. It is important that all individuals who volunteer their time and service in the VITA TCE program understand their roles and responsibilities within the program. All volunteers must take the Volunteer Standard of Conduct VSOC training, pass the Volunteer Standard of Conduct Ethics certification test with a score of 80% or higher, sign and date Form 13615 Volunteer Standard of Conduct Agreement, indicating they have successfully completed the training and certification test and agree to adhere to the standards. For additional information, refer to Publication 4961 or Form 13615. Structure of VITA training videos and example problems. The following resources are designed to assist you in preparing accurate returns using TaxSlayer. There will also be practice returns attached for you to prepare in the practice lab that will allow you to familiarize yourself with the software. IRS Publication 4012 VITA TCE Volunteer Resource Guide. This will be your main resource guide. We will follow the tabs in the 4012 to explain each topic that you will be learning. IRS Publication 17, Your Federal Income Tax for Individuals. The publication is only available electronically. IRS Publication 4491, VITA TCE Training Guide. This resource is for individuals' federal tax law and includes examples and definitions. IRS Publication 5101, Intake, Interview, and Quality Review Training goes over Form 13614-C, Intake, Interview, and Quality Review, and the process in accordance with federal quality site requirements. IRS Publication 4961, Volunteer Standard of Conduct Ethics Training, and IRS Publication 6744, Volunteer Assisters Test Retest. Now let's discuss the Intake, Interview, and Quality Review Sheet, also known as Form 13614-C. Filling out the intake and interview form correctly results in an accurate tax return. This form is used as a resource for volunteers to assist with preparation, quality review, and transmission of the taxpayer's return. You, as a volunteer, will make notes and comments on this form when needed. The taxpayer will complete their personal information on the first part of the form on page 1 by providing their full name, date of birth, occupation, and phone number. If they are married filing joint, the same will need to be filled out for the spouse. The taxpayer will need to provide their current mailing address, including any apartment number. Next, they will need to fill out the citizenship status for the taxpayer and their spouse, if they have one. Make sure the taxpayer answers the question on whether they or their spouse are legally blind, totally or permanently disabled, have an IRS identity protection PIN, and if they hold any digital assets. In the midsection, the taxpayer must indicate how they want to receive a refund, if due, or make payment if they will have a balance due. In the same area, the taxpayer can indicate the language preference they want to communicate with IRS and contributing to the presidential election campaign fund. Next, the taxpayer must complete information about their marital status and household information. You will use this information to determine the taxpayer's filing status. Although the taxpayer will provide their marital status and living situation, make sure you review this section with the taxpayer carefully and ask questions to determine the taxpayer's filing status. For example, a taxpayer may mark the box widowed, but their spouse passed away in 1990. For tax purposes, their filing status is single, not qualifying surviving spouse. As the preparer, make sure to ask the taxpayer, can anyone claim you or your spouse on their tax return? Ask additional probing questions if needed because the law states, can you be claimed, not will you be claimed. The last part of page 1 may be confusing for taxpayers to fill out. This section asks the taxpayer to list the names of everyone who lived with them last year and anyone they supported but did not live with the taxpayer. You may need to go through these questions one person at a time to verify if the individual listed is an actual dependent of the taxpayer. For example, a college student lived with 3 other students in a roommate situation. The roommates provided their own support, but they lived in the same home as the taxpayer. You will need to ask the taxpayer questions to determine the roommates are not dependents of the taxpayer. If you confirm the person listed is the taxpayer's dependent, make sure to fill out the grayed out areas to determine if the dependent is a qualifying child or a qualifying relative, of the taxpayer and what tax benefits can be provided by claiming them. Page 2 includes various types of incomes. The taxpayer can check the box for all tax situations that is applicable to them and or their spouse. As the tax preparer, you fill out the grayed out areas indicating which tax form the taxpayer and or the spouse received for their tax situation. You may notice letter A, B, and M in parentheses next to each line number. This letter indicates the level of certification required to prepare the return. A is advanced certification, B is basic certification, and M is military certification. Remember to only prepare returns for which you are certified. On page 3 of the form, you will find information and questions related to the type of expenses that the taxpayer and or the spouse had during the tax year. The taxpayer must check the box next to all applicable expenses to their situation. As a preparer, you will indicate in the gray area what tax forms related to the expenses the taxpayer and or their spouse have received. Also, you will determine if it is beneficial for the taxpayer to take the standard deduction or itemize for expenses. If unable to determine this, do not worry. TaxSlayer will make the determination once you enter all income and expenses in the system. On page 4, you will find information and questions that are used for statistical purposes and are optional. However, the information is helpful and may be used by the site to apply for grants and other federal assistance.
And lastly, on page 5, under Additional Comments, include any notes you or the taxpayer may have that may be helpful when preparing the return. You have now completed the second of 13 VITA training sessions. All sessions are available on the Franchise Tax Board website at ftb.ca.gov. Again, if you have any questions, please contact your local VITA coordinator. You may also reach out to FTB's VITA team at 800-522-5665 or by email at volunteercoordinator@ftb.ca.gov. Keep practicing. Thanks for watching.